Cool. So Jonathan's on right now.
Hey,
And
everyone.
so
Hey,
Jonathan,
Jonathan.
I'll I think you have this doc, but I'll send it to you as well. Yes. I'm not sure why. Okay. It access over there. Okay. So Jonathan, just thinking that the doc, that's just a summary of what Mark had sent to us a little while back. And actually I'll just share my screen for it. Okay, cool. So first off, when we get this information, I think it's great to how it lays out, looks pretty and everything else, but that is super frustrating for you guys. What do you typically do with this information once you get it?
So generally what we're going to do is we're going to send an email response with, which is what we call our introductory email, which has all of the, that's it right there. So that's our, that will go back out to the party who contacted us. And by the way, Rob, this email came to, it didn't come to me, it came to the contact us field. You know that Good Steward FGS or whatever that.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, this right here is just a typical, form that's on the website. So, ideally, of course, if we were using a CRM, then it would be automated, right?
Yeah.
They would enter in the information and we would have it automatically go into the CRM and then
Sure.
to a contact queue, and we would, send out the response. We just had not, if I can say, built this portion out.
Oh, we lost for the. I heard this. I heard the motorcycle.
Yeah, how loud was that, right?
Yeah.
And so that would, I mean, ideally we would have it go into a CRM. Now, of course, this contact right here is for potential new sellers, right? Contact information for sellers, as opposed to, borrowers coming in after the fact and entering in their information for that purpose. So both of them apply, of course, right? We should have them going into a CRM and automatically sending out this sort of reply to the seller and begin a queue of a sales process to capture those RMLO sellers.
And would you say the business isn't big enough to do that automation, or from your point of view, it's not worth the energy to build out the CRM? Or what's your hurdle?
No, I wouldn't say it like that. I would say, like any business, you kind of start off less automated, right? And then as you start to generate revenue, it also teaches you, right? You learn by doing it manually the various items that need to be done. And so for sure, we're at the stage and beyond the stage where we should be making that transition from more manual to more CRM and automation for sure.
Cool. So Jonathan is more on the tech side, even more than I am, and that's why I had him come on. And he's higher level programming, coding, system level stuff. And I'm a big automator. Jonathan just has the means and ability and knowledge of doing it. So I'm like more the dreamer, and he's actually the functionality on it. So he may have some additional questions. We noticed that you're connecting to a server. And that's like like a private computer or private server in the office or whatnot.
No, so let me. I saw some of those emails come in. So let me explain. So we use Microsoft products. We subscribe to the Microsoft 360. Use them pretty extensively. We have a license already for, say, like Dynamics and their foreign stuff. I mean, pretty much everything Microsoft. We of course have access to. So when we say the server, really it's because we used to use an internal server years ago, and then we moved to SharePoint. And we call it the server because we treat it the same, right?
Makes sense.
But it's actually cloud-based.
Good. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jonathan. I know you have some questions about
that answered that question actually really well.
Okay.
So you guys put all
I,
this in
you know,
SharePoint?
and just to be clear, you know, I'm used to Microsoft. We use it a lot. Um, and it's already something we pay for, but I'm absolutely open to some of the others. So a lot of the other technology online, in some ways is easier to configure and use, right? So it's, you know,
Sure.
we're open to whatever it is that you guys suggest and that you guys do. But do keep in mind that we're used to Microsoft, right?
Sure. So I wanted to bring up this one thing here and let Jonathan go from here. So one of the things with our website is it sounds to me where errors happen a lot of times is when we enter data in, right? It's time and possibility of human error. One of the things in websites we have, and I have in mind, is the ability to do two things: digitally sign, but also automatically fill in. I use Google Sheets, right? But you can do anything. Automatically enter data into a spreadsheet in seconds, right? I have, whenever anyone lists an asset for sale with me, I'll show you an example. Website response. So anytime someone fills out, I have a green form and it has some formulas in here, but it fills in all this data without me even knowing about it. And I get an email sent similar to yours, but saying, hey, this data has been filled in. Thank you for your information, blah, blah, blah. And on the back end, it's already filled in for me.
Sure. Yeah,
and then I can make notes, do whatever I want with it, but it fills in automatically, which would remove some of Deb's need to enter data in. But I definitely like the idea of having a manufacturing line so you know what's due and what's not due. And it allows you to kind of speed up this process because the hardest part of your job is the underwriting, right? That's the manual work. And I think, like we said before, if we can expedite the automation side on things that do duplication and get to the more manual work, it may make things a little bit faster, easier, quicker. So with this, I see every 3 months you do a follow-up emails with that. And I think, like you said before, if you have CRM, you could do it. One thing I do as well is with a spreadsheet like this, I literally have another second spreadsheet where I can do a mass email through Google Sheets, and I can actually send an email out every 3 months. And you can do it through Excel as well, but a bulk emailer, and you can set it up that it goes out every 3 months without you even knowing about it. It's, hey, where you been? How you been? That kind of stuff. And we can do all kind of functionality with that. Or Jonathan probably even has sometimes different ideas we go through. Jonathan, what do you want to add to this system they have going on, and more information that Bob has
Yeah, I
shared
mean,
with us?
you know, these sort of things can all be automated for sure. You know, and I don't know, Debbie was brought up because she was the one that actually goes through and sends these emails. And
Right.
I don't know how much time that takes for you. You know, and you guys just do it like whenever in the month, right? Like once a
Right.
month you go through.
I go through the uh, spreadsheet and figure out who's up next, and I try to send them all at about the same time
Mhm.
to each one.
And they're just a check-in kind of
Yeah.
follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any more type of these sort of things that you guys have thought about in the past for like leads and things like that to send more emails?
This is pretty much what we're doing from a marketing perspective.
Hmm.
I mean, from a follow-up perspective, this is about the only thing that we're doing. I mean, we don't have the resources to go out and, as an example, end up at a conference somewhere to market that way. So our
Sure.
marketing is pretty much geared to the people that have reached out to us at some point in the past. And that's kind of that's what we rely on for future business.
Got it. And y'all don't send any sort of marketing materials around newsletters or updates of what you've done in the, like yearly season or anything like that to make them more knowledgeable of your products?
We don't do
Okay.
the birthday cards or that. We don't do any of that stuff. We also, we do obviously, like as an example, being in attending David's group, you know, we try to market ourselves through our activities and you know, show what we do to people
For
as
sure.
opposed to, you know, mass mailing kind of stuff. We like to be hands-on marketing, but I mean, that can
Oh, makes
certainly
sense.
change. I'm not opposed to it. You know, we've done mass marketing in the past for our loan side.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I suppose it could be done here too, but it's not something that's part of our normal routine at this point.
Right. And Deb, whenever you do this, do you just send an email through like Outlook or
Right.
Gmail or something like that? Right. So you guys,
Yeah, Outlook.
yeah, because you know, like I mean, all that's fine. I would rather you guys do it than not. Imperfect is better than nothing at all. I was just curious because you know there's ways to track opens and clicks if you guys have hyperlinks in there, you know, to posts of what you're doing and other things. Like obviously you'd have to think about the marketing materials for that, which also takes time and resources. But I was just curious.
Yeah, no, we don't track any of that stuff. We don't track
Mhm.
openings or click-throughs or any of that
Okay.
that process.
So going through the next step here, we see the fact that, you know, Deb sent out the email to the carryback. So I'm going to put that also under a task. Automating, just some things to think about. The email, right? Because I think one thing is you guys are manually sending out that email with the attachment. Is that correct?
Yes.
So Bob, on the website itself, I'm sure you probably know, do you know how to attach a file so that that doesn't have to manually be done, or are you doing it for a different reason?
Well, I mean, on the website isn't, you know, we could probably set up an automated response that would include the attachment. But again, this is just a typical web form that's sending it as an email, the data to our email address so that Mark and Debbie receive it as an email, you know, form. It's not populating anywhere. We just haven't moved to do that. And we do need to move to do that.
Okay.
But we're not using technology right now that would do that quickly. Again, obviously,
Yeah.
this has to be set up.
Because I think he had sent this out, right? That this, I presume this is probably an automatic email that gets sent out to anyone who fills out a form.
No,
Or
it's
some
it's not, this would be an automatic response. Right now, it's done,
manually.
yeah, manually. Yes.
Okay. Because I mean, I don't know if you want to see how my website does. I have it so that it automatically sends this exact email out whenever they fill out a contact us, or, you know, I have a lot of forms on my website that automatically will send a response to them and to me going, hey, this person filled out the form. But what you can do is inside that, once they fill out a contact us or whatever, this email should be to save work, energy, effort, all that stuff, and forgetfulness, whatever, could be sent out automatically with this 4 attachments on every single time, and at least capture their information as well. Is that something you guys, I mean, I presume Bob could probably figure out how to do that. I don't know what service you're using on the back end of your website, if it's WordPress or whatever, to gather the information on the form.
Yeah, I mean the website's built using WordPress.
Okay. So I mean, I'll quickly kind of, I know you're on the road. I'll show Deb and Mark what it looks like. But on my website here is the back end of here. Whenever I get a, you know, form response, let me show you. I have a notifications screen on mine, and notification then sends out a response. There's a lot here, but you can ignore it. That sends out a response to the person who filled the form out. Thank you for filling the form out. Here's information, and here's, in your scenario, here's the 4 attachments we want to review. We'll be reaching out to you soon. And that email can be sent through Outlook or through the website itself. I don't know how your website's designed to send out emails. do you think that that would be something that would help the business? I mean, I don't find it takes a lot of time out of my space, but if I'm doing, in the beginning, I was doing a lot of emails like you were, and it was just
Yeah,
time
no,
consuming.
this is something we should implement
Okay.
for sure.
And I presume I use Gravity Forms. I'm sure, I don't know what you guys use. The benefit of Gravity Forms is it actually has, I'm sure the other ones do, has a way to digitally sign. So for your guys' forms, when the person's doing all this stuff, instead of printing out and signing it, they can do a digital kind of DocuSign mentality.
So that would work well for us, Rob. The both the seller and the buyer have to sign an agreement authorizing us to do the RMLO report. So that electronic signature would be a great thing for us to be able to do. You know, when we're engaged. So the authorized, and then the application form, the standard loan application form, which is a mock of a 1003, would be another area of signature that the buyer of the property would be signing. So those are the two areas that we have signatures, right, Deb? Is there anything else?
I'm thinking the application, the seller carryback.
Well, do we need a signed contract? I don't think we need a signed contract. If we're going to be engaged to do the analysis, we don't care whether the buyer and the seller have agreed to terms yet. We've just been hired to do an analysis based upon the presentation of the information. If it changes, it changes, but we don't honestly care about signatures. The only signature we have to have is the authorization on our seller carryback agreement and the signature on the application, because that allows us to pull credit. So those are the only two things that we really need signature on.
And as you can see, they fill a form like this out and they literally then sign this box. And hit submit.
Okay.
And then it comes out similar to, let me bring up that, what it looks like on the other side.
And this could be filled out, signed on a phone or on a computer screen?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So this is, I'll bring this up. This is the form filled out, and here's a signature section, and it looks like this. So there's no entering data in. They fill the form out on my side. This is all what it looks like on my side, and here's the signature, and I have a default for me already. And this was a process of doing. They filled this out with all the information, and it grabbed the document, which is here. It automatically fills in. This is like a template. It's a fake document kind of thing, and it fills out, and then it sends me the document as well as the signature, and the signature, as you saw before, is already on here.
Yeah, so that to me was one of the interesting pieces of it, is that it automates the beginning. Where the automation breaks down for us is in getting the documentation from the buyer, because that comes in a variety of different ways. It comes email, it comes uploaded to our Box account, it comes in picture form that they took on their phone. They take a picture of a document and send that to us. We get their documents in a variety of different unsophisticated ways. The ideal way for us traditionally has been email. They send us an email with the attachments, and then we pull those attachments into our quote unquote server, and then we start reviewing those documents. There's no solid, easy way that we've found, and this is where probably, Debbie, I think you spend the most amount of time, is
Trying to get documents.
Yeah, getting the documents and getting the information you need in order to understand what the transaction.
would you say most of your buyers are non-tech people, or it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't really matter, but they have
Okay.
a habit of sending one piece at a time. So that
Okay.
takes a lot of time for me to go through and tell them, you know, we need this, this, and this again. And they
So,
get frustrated, and so do I.
so most of the time, do they come through the seller or come directly without a seller?
Usually with the seller, because that's who
Okay.
we're doing the
Because
RMLO for.
this is where I think the big part me and Jonathan were on is I would like to see a way for your website to have it so that a logon is a seller's login or a lender's login, and that the borrower would get a special code sent to them, right? And that the originator would create some kind of special account for them under their account, and they would be able to see the documents that need to be submitted. Maybe not see the document, but see what's missing, and let your seller be able to log in and say, oh man, we're still missing a W-2 here. Oh, we're still missing this here. And say, what, let them be your rabbit, right? Let them be chasing, but they're probably calling you and go, hey, what are we missing? And
Yeah,
if they're able to log in and see what's missing, let them go be that person. But I think if you had that system where they have a special, because you don't need an account for every borrower, because once they're done, they're probably not coming back to you guys. But for that seller to give a like sub account, Jonathan, do you think what I'm talking about is possible?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you could make it so that you have a lender profile or something like that, and they do all of those things. Like nothing. I mean, we could talk it out to see what's the best path forward and what makes sense, but um, I would be more about their interest in it.
would you
And
have, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
would you have the availability of Spanish documents?
I mean, that would be something we would design together, you know. That's not a problem as long as, you know, maybe you choose in the system for Spanish.
I'm sorry.
But like Spanish documents, it's not a problem. But maybe we have to choose like when you're signing someone up to choose which language they want. But that shouldn't be an issue. We could just set that up.
We would use your documents. Are you asking us for documents to create documents in Spanish?
I think we have them, don't we, Mark? For
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah, we have,
Yeah.
we use the Fannie Mae application form, you know.
Got
Then
it.
yeah, we would just notify if they're Spanish speaking or English speaking, and it automatically would load their side up, I would presume, right? And I
It
think that
probably would be better, it would probably be better to default to English and then just say, if you need Spanish, click here.
Let us know.
and then that lender would be able to see the status of everything. The buyer can log in anytime using a special link, or if they forget, they can, you know, inform their seller or whatever you want to do, so that the seller really wants to get that loan closed, right? I think it's silly Deb has to chase down someone else's person, right? That's kind of, it's like a, you know, chasing down a child almost feels like, right? It's your deal. If you want to get the stuff done, you go after your borrower and say, get this stuff done. I think it's weird that you guys have to put the pressure on it, but I get it, right? So I'd like to see that system where your website design that the lender logs in, has a special master, and then each borrower can go through your system and as they need to. And I think that feature is amazing, because it will, what it'll also do is the borrowers that come to you without a seller, they would have to sign their seller up. And then you have more sellers, and hey, welcome to the system. This is what we do. And you're going to create that traction of, wow, they have a great system that I can create. The main notes I create, I can send these guys and they'll originate, you know, they'll underwrite for me. And they have a great system. And knowing where they're in the system is a big, in the process, is a big deal for me, because what's due, what's not due. Instead of having, if you guys have this checklist of what's missing, what's not missing, and kind of stuff like that, and the follow up and follow up and follow up, I think the automated system could send an email out to the seller saying on a weekly or bi-weekly, hey, it's been a week since we heard from your borrower. Can you make sure that they get this stuff into us, and have it automatic?
Yeah, I don't see this working from a perspective of soliciting buyers. I don't see I
That's
would not,
fine.
I would not want this to be developed in a way that would allow us to work with buyers. I think it's important for us to have the seller be the driving factor.
Yes.
It's
I'm saying
highly
if
unlikely we would have a buyer come to us for any reason at all.
agreed, but if they
Other
did,
than,
if they came to you at all, you would want them to tell your seller to sign up so then you can get access. It'd be a lender-based program that if a buyer ever did come to you, they would need their seller to sign them up for the process because your
Yeah.
driving force is that seller.
Yeah, so that's true. I like. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I switched to my
Rob.
vehicle to get going. Yeah. So I want to back up because I feel like we're
Yes.
hitting a couple of different things. And let me tell you what I think we need again. Let me just start again.
Yes.
Okay. There are two different issues. One of them is all about sales, right? It's about new seller comes in, we get a contact, new seller, we want to sign him up and then have him send us RMLO deals and be able to have the borrowers log in and do their thing. I mean, I'm stating the obvious, but obviously this is also an important thing that we're missing. So if they come to the Facebook page or the website and fill out the form, they fill out a form and emails us the form. As you saw, Mark has to then send an email to them and attach things.
Yep.
And really, they'd go into no CRM to follow up, except that Mark manually, of course, might add it to the spreadsheets. And in a spreadsheet, maybe go back periodically when we get around to it and send something. Okay, so the first thing we have is on that side is they should be coming and somehow automatically going into a system that sends them an email, tickers for Mark or Debbie or somebody else to follow up with a phone call or something, right? We're talking typical sales pipeline stuff, right?
Yes.
And then once they become, they're committed to sending us a deal, we probably want them to have a login. I mean, ideally down the road, they should be able to log in and initiate a new RMLO transaction, right? And tell us who the borrower is going to be and sort of prep it.
Yes.
And then it sends this notice out to the borrower to say, hey, come over here and fill out this stuff. And it starts with, of course, the authorization to run credit and to do the deal to begin with, right? And so meanwhile, you've got a seller who's got multiple deals, initially one, but ultimately more than one. Obviously, that's what we would hope for everybody. And then a buyer separately comes in and has a list of things he's got to fill out. He fills out a form online, starting with authorization. He fills out his information. Maybe he's setting up an account, and I say that with quotes, right? But it's collecting data that gets used to go on the 1003, and such. And then he's allowed to upload his, the documents that are requested. And those documents can be uploaded manually. Maybe with the right technology, we can attach it to a phone where we can say, type in your phone number and we'll send you a text link so that you can take a picture. I don't know, whatever it is, but you understand the problem is obviously we have to have these documents. Borrower fills out a form, uploads documents. Somehow we make it easy for him to get us the documents. And then we track where he's at along the process. And if it reaches out and says, hey, you forgot something, here's an email, we should copy the seller too. Make sure the seller knows, borrower didn't do his job yet. He hasn't finished this document. Can he help us out? Right? Meanwhile, we're building this database of borrowers. We have their data. We're collecting the data. We know what's going on with sellers. Each new deal, the sellers come in and set it up in the system. to tell us, hey, there's a new deal. We reach out to the next borrower, and it just kind of keeps repeating, right? And avoiding obviously too many emails. The other step in there is our form that we use, because all that's ultimately going to lead to our report that goes to the seller. And so we want all of that to feed into the report. And there's a couple of automated things. In other words, when we do the credit check in our report, we use that typical, speed speedometer gauge sort of reading, right? He scored 620 and it's over on the not so good, red to green. You know what I'm talking about when I say the speedometer?
Yep.
Chart. But of course, we just wanted to hit there with the score, and we can manually do it. And there's a couple of other websites we reach out to for data, for the collection of.
And that circle graph where it shows the score. I know Jonathan said we can automate that, even look, right? That's something we can automate. So I'm not sure if you can see my screen. I know you're driving, so I'm just taking notes as we go along here. It sounds to me is that you heard all what we said that we think would be cool, but what you sound like you want to do is create that lender profile on your website, allow them to upload documents, and then anytime, then send out an email, maybe weekly or however often you set it up, reminding the borrower and the seller that documents are missing, and here's a list of documents, and here's a link to go back and upload more documents. I'm going to show you a quick, this is what I do. I have the ability to upload documents to my WordPress site where I can select or drag and drop, boom, and it now has it. And I know it sounds crazy, but then it goes to my web. It actually uploads the link of the file to my Google Sheet, so that I can click on that. But it also connects to the response on the email. So both things happen, and those files can be saved to wherever you want to be saved at. And Jonathan would work on that part of it. So you go back to here. So we kind of did a high level look at it. I'd like for you guys to kind of visit what we talked about tonight, and let us know where you would like to go from here. So we can kind of develop a plan, me and Jonathan, of what we can do to help you guys out, and know where your budget's at, kind of thing too, is what would be priority, what would expedite your business, and how we can do, what you're already doing, but just in a cleaner, faster, easier way for them versus having to manually capture this stuff, which I'm sure is time consuming, and just what it is.
Right.
Okay. The only thing I would say is difficult to do is determine which, and I don't know if Jonathan can answer this question, but if someone uploads a W-2 and they indicate it's a, reference, I don't know if there's a way to catch that. Jonathan, do you have ideas on that part of it? That if I go and upload a W-2 and I put it and label it as a reference,
like categorize it.
Yeah, like I uploaded. Is there a way to check that? I mean, I'm sure Deb
the fastest way may be
the
fastest way today might just be to just have someone manually do it. I mean, it's better to have it and go over. I mean, honestly, even if so we could automate that, right? You could look into AI, make it happen, but really, like, these things probably need to be looked over anyways.
Yep. So Deb can recategorize it, right? She can
Yeah.
look and go, oh, this is one category, and move it into a different category. But at least the seller can log in and say, oh, that one's not missing anymore, right?
Well, there could be a simple solution by just simply saying, this is income information. This is asset information. And just simply identify it that way. And then, if it's miscategorized, it can be fixed. But in the interim, for the buyer, you have to recognize most of these deals are from buyers that are probably unsophisticated, are living in a house. They're not getting a regular loan because they're buying on a seller carryback. So the skill level, you have
Sure.
to presume the skill level is probably pretty low when it comes to technology or whatever else. So I would say you're going to probably want to say something like provide your income information, whatever that may be. It may be a P&L, it may be a pay stub, it may be a contract, whatever they have, but we call it income information. And the second category would be asset information, bank statements. What if they use Zelle or they use an online bank account or something? We need some kind of a way to be able to view it, and that would be considered asset information. So you just generalize the categories to make it simpler for them, and they just upload into that category. Then once we get it, we can always recategorize it if we need to. But for the most part, it will answer the question that Debbie needs to look at. Oh, here's some income information coming in. Now I can look at it. Now I can analyze their income.
Gotcha.
And I think that's going to be a lot easier way to do it. And then when we store it, we store it as in that category, and then the seller will have that information to view. Here's his income information. Here's his asset information. So it makes it easier. We won't be sending out links, Debbie, to a Box account anymore. It'll be in the account that seller sets up. So he'll already have all that information. So we won't have to reduplicate that effort.
Deb's like, I like that. The seller's constantly asking what's due and what I have to email it over, find it. Yeah, I think allowing them to log in and go, I'm going to go to 123 First Street and see where they're at. Here it is. They log in. You don't even have to do anything.
Right.
Right.
I just think the time that Debbie should be spending, honestly, should be on analyzing the report and completing the report so that we can send that to the seller. And
100%.
That's really what we're trying to get to. So as much as the automation. Now, here's my big question: what's this going to cost? Because I have no idea technologically in today's world what it costs to create a system like this. So, and is it done by modules? Do we add this module and then this module and then this module, or is it one and done? And then there's obviously, if there's changes down the road, how do we handle changes in the procedure? So there's that kind of thing, will obviously come up and it's, I don't think there's any misunderstanding in what we want at this point in time. I think you guys have the picture. It's based upon my initial email to you. It really hasn't changed all that much. I think a couple of tweaks that we've talked about today would help a lot. But I don't really think there's much difference from what I originally sent you to what we got today. And I guess we just need a price tag on what that
so I think what we'll need to do, and Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, is get a cleaner look of what is the priority first. What's the first thing you guys want to get done? And then what's the second thing, third thing, fourth thing, fifth thing? I think that would probably be the best way. John, what's your thought on that?
I don't think there's anything that I could disagree with that.
All right.
But I mean, if you look at the that email, right? If you scroll up a little bit, then the one right above where you had tasks, that email that I sent you right there, that's kind of the process. That's kind of what we would want to do. The first priority is to automate the system where they reach out to us in the first place, and we set that up in a CRM type of an environment. So that takes care of that problem. The second issue is getting.
Make sure you said the first one is so they can contact you and automatically send the automatic email.
Yeah, send the automatic email with the attachments, or if it's not attachments, it's directing them to a link. That might be even better. Directing them to a link, and on that link, they electronically sign the seller carryback agreement, and they have a loan application to complete on the link, on the website. and they have a checklist of things they need to upload. So we don't even need to send any attachments. We can simply
True.
redirect them to a website.
And those attachments can be on the website for them to download, right? Like that's the whole point of the website.
Right. They can download them, or they can just fill them out right there.
Yep.
They don't even need to download them. They can just click and complete. Yep. So for me, that would be ideal. Is they redirect, they get an intro email from us. It sends them to the website. But somehow you're going to have to get that set up within the seller's account. That's the piece that I'm not sure how that works. But it has to be assigned to a seller. So
yes, 100%, absolutely.
So the seller is the seller's site that they would set up, and then they would redirect their buyers to this website, and then the buyer would sign the seller carryback agreement and would also have the application form to complete online, which would be great. Doesn't have to be this 1003 or this form that we use.
Are these forms on your website right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on the website, but we just modified a standard 1003 application to fit our needs. That's really all we did.
One thing you can do is send emails well, but you can actually have some, when they fill out a contact us form, it can send them to a website that looks just like this, and it'll be a redirect from a form. Thanks for reaching out to our office. You'll be receiving an email, but we wanted to go through some of the things already. And it's when you fill a form on my website, it redirects you to a different page on the website. If you're trying to sell a note, it sends you to a page of consulting, or if you're trying to buy a note, if you're a first-time note buyer and they do the NDA, and depending on what they choose, it sends them to learn how to buy notes, right? It's a redirect. So you can actually have it redirect after they fill out the contact us form, and if they selected seller, to this page, which lays out all this information with these stuff, but also sends them an email.
Right. So I'm trying to think about from a task perspective that Jonathan or you are going to be doing. That the first thing would be the response. The second thing would be the seller to sign the seller carryback agreement and then understand what information we need. The third thing would be to have the seller notify the buyer to go to this website and to sign the seller carryback agreement and to fill out the loan application and to upload the documents that we need. That's it from the buyer seller perspective. From an internal CPM, I'm losing the
CRM.
CRM. Lost the acronym there. From that perspective, we need to have a system follow up to constantly, touch our people that have the sellers that have reached out to us, and to have a system there. And that's it. I mean, it's really pretty simple. I mean, I don't know, from a technology perspective, I don't know how complicated it is to write this, but it's not rocket science. I mean, it's not like drawing out a flow chart to write a computer program.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. The contact us response.
I'm sure if Rob spent, if he had the time, Rob, you could probably create it so that the contact us form sends a link or redirects them to a website, sends them to a link on the website, that kind of features. Are you able to do that with the WordPress now? I don't know what your time feature is either.
So I think we can. I think there's a little bit of a disconnect though.
Okay.
Right. And part of it's because with the greatest respect, right? Mark is a lot of the conversation is about this form, okay? Yep. But this contact us form versus the attachments, okay? Remember, the contact us form is a sales process, and that's the problem. We're combining two things. When Mark responds, he responds with things that already assumes he's a client. Okay. So let's kind of leave that aside for a second.
Sure.
We've got two different issues. One is pipeline comes in of new seller. And okay, so let's assume they're already in our contact. So let's ignore that. What we really need is the seller to be able to log in to a pre-existing login. He already has an account. He logs in, says, I'm returning, and I have a new borrower, and his email address is borrower@gmail.com. And bam, as soon as he hits go, it emails out to him the link to come back and begin filling out his form. Like, it's that simple, right?
So you want it, when you said automatic send email to that lender or to the new borrower?
No, because the lender's the one coming into it,
Correct.
right? So again, if we assume we're already past the sales side,
Yes.
and we've set up a user account for a seller.
Yep.
The seller comes, logs in, puts his username and password, and he goes to a page that says, I have a new RMLO.
Yes. New property.
Right? A new property. He looks at the form that's for his part, the authorization. I forget what Mark calls it, right? That authorizes us to start the process. And he fills that, he signs it, says, yes, new property, and yes, right? And signs it online. And then he enters the borrower's email address, and it automatically emails the borrower with a link so the borrower can come back.
Yes.
And he can now start filling out the form on his side. And in that form, of course, it includes the authorization. But right now, Mark does it as two separate things.
Sure.
Right? But it doesn't need to be two separate things. It's really one process.
Yes.
Borrower comes back, form number one, do this, page number one, I authorize it. Okay, now we're past that. Now I enter in all of my other information and I begin the process of the rest of the data collection.
Okay. And Rob, I triggered in my head when you were talking about this is one other thing that can do is when that seller goes in and does his thing, it can update our log. Our log spreadsheet to track what we have working at the same time, because now we have under that buyer's column, we've got a new deal now.
That's right. That's right. So that's definitely the CRM sort of advantage of it. Like you said, we're able to say, here's this another deal in the pipeline. Now that doesn't go on your state report. You're talking about the other log, right?
Yeah, that goes into the RMLO log.
Exactly. It would just update the CRM. I mean, again, even if it's a spreadsheet, but it updates it automatically to say, here's where it's at, right?
Okay. So
which is what Dave, I'm sorry, David, and that's what David's doing with his, like right now, that's what he was showing earlier. He just automatically, it updates the spreadsheet with the status of where it's at, right?
Deb, how much would you like that? Where it just automatically fills a spreadsheet out for you. Right? Like these are just formulas because I extract. This was one of my first forms, but it literally grabs the first name. I separate first and last name now because I manually have to do this, but it grabs the addresses, it grabs the property address, grabs this, and everything gets filled in. And I don't know how many I got here, but 160 here. I have massive lists and so that, and it automatically does all this stuff and sends me an email like, oh, okay, now I can do something with it. So So I think
David,
go ahead.
Good. I'm sorry. Well, I think where the challenge is as we continue this, we go through the process. In the end, we have to produce a report.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, ideally, the lender logs into his account and he sees, here's this deal. Oh, and here's the report. It's completed. And then here's this deal, it's not completed yet, it's still pending some items, right? And
Mhm.
here's the deal that was completed, but it's, from 3 months ago, right? Like the lender has his own login. He sees what's going on and
Yeah.
can draw the report down out of his accounts.
And
So that
that
would
form
be
can be
the idea.
automatically filled out too, right? You can automatically using, I'm sure you know, mail tags, but document tags where like it just fills in the spot. Property address gets filled in. The amount gets
Exactly.
filled in. Everything, even the grafting can get automatically filled in without anyone touching it. And as Mark said before, focusing on what you guys manually have to do, which is figure out if they're able to be underwritten. And that's a
That's
key.
right. That's right. So all of the check boxes and all that fills in
Okay.
automatically.
Yes.
Mark and Debbie have to go back and fill in certain narrative. And again, as part of the process, they're going to hit those narratives and then type in whatever the narrative is.
So why don't we
And
do this? Why don't we start? So I don't know how many firstborn children Mark has, so we can take all his firstborn child for the cost of this. No, is figure out what the cost would be to just do the one thing that Robbie brought up, was the fact that have the ability to have a sign in that they can sign up a new borrower, new property address, really, right? And then they can enter borrower's email address and automatically send a borrower a link to the website and create this ability to start uploading, and both people will be able to see it. Why don't we just start with that and see where it goes and see if this is cost effective as well as everything else, and allow us to kind of just work together at the beginning to see where we're at. Would that sound like a fair way to kind of begin?
yeah, I think if you can write that out and then give
Okay.
us what you'd like up, for that,
Yeah.
then so we know what the what the deliverable is.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair enough.
That'd be-
Jonathan, you're cool with that, right? He's in California, so he's still working. I presume.
Yeah.
You're
No, I'm
cool
cool
with
with
just
that.
doing delivery. Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously I don't do the coding. Jonathan's more high level. So we have people we work with to get more of the manual stuff done. So we'll go over that small process. The WordPress site itself, I presume you have access to it because we've worked with people before that
Yeah.
didn't have access to it.
Yeah,
Okay, good. All right, good. Someone didn't have the password. Like we had never logged into a back end. Like what? Holy God. So that's crazy. I use
no problem.
Gravity Forms. That's a private, app that you have to edit.
It might be Gravity Forms on there, one of the
I love
earlier
it.
versions of it. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I know that our web developer guy has used,
Okay.
we have, yeah, I suspect it's Gravity Forms.
So absolutely. So I will be me and Jonathan will speak briefly about this stuff and see what we can do. And obviously with the holidays coming up, I'm not sure what the timeline is. But we'll definitely get you something probably within a week or so, maybe 2 weeks max, just to kind of give a starting idea of where we're at with stuff. And I'd like for us to, I don't know if Robbie, you know what I do. I basically buy notes. Me and Jonathan, that's where our investment side of it is. And we're going to be doing a webinar coming up soon. And we'd like to encourage you guys and encourage your originators to join in. We're going to be talking about, originating legal notes, doing the back underwriting, but also sellable notes where they're going to learn from us what we note buyers want to see in a note to be able to buy for the highest dollar. So we'll be hosting 2 separate webinars. And if you guys can email to your list of originators you've worked with and see if they're interested, we'll have a registration on Zoom. Me and our buddy Nathan's going to run it, where they're going to be able to log in, and we're going to do a class on what makes a note legal as well as sellable. Like, don't create 5% notes if you plan to sell it because you're not going to be able to sell it. Those kind of things, maturity date, everything else that we've been buying for 15 years now. Those kind of key items. So we encourage you guys, if you can share that with your tribe of people you've worked with, do a blast email. That'd be great. I'll follow up with an email with that details if you guys are able to do that. I think
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Rob, excuse me just a second. Rob, would this would any of this fit in with the GSAS kind of a concept where some of the things with Sullivan or any of those kind of areas with Tom? Would any of this fit within
Yeah, maybe. Let me think about what I have access to. That
Okay.
would help David out. Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to just get in front of more originators' eyes and say, you know, we get asked a lot of times, hey, what kind of notes should I create? What should I have? And it's like, listen, don't create a note that you didn't underwrite. You know,
Mhm.
those are the kind of things we get into where people are underwriting, and Mark's heard me tell this a million times. Someone told us they wrote $5 million in assets, 83 assets, where she did it at a diner with a checkbook. That's her underwriting.
Yeah. And
It's
so
you
so
know,
yeah, so David, so if they were selling a note
yep,
where they have a strong RMLO report about the borrower, that helps you, right? Helps you make a decision to buy that note.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where, we want to be able to present our report basically and have it as part of
Yes.
the discussion, like you're
But
saying.
that's the legal side of it, right? This borrower is able to pay. The other flip side, and I'm not sure if you see my screen, is a lot of other things. Like, you know, what is a, you know, wrap note worth? What is a second? What's a first? Should I do
Sure,
an
yeah.
80-20 note? Is a down payment important? What type of property, right? Is the location important? Yes, it is. You know, do I create a 4% note or a 10% note? So the other side of it, yeah, the borrower's able to repay, but I create a 4% note, you know, that lasts 500 years. That's not a sellable note to us. And we want to talk about the both the legal side, but also the note. I call it the note math side, where all the note numbers are. Right. If you're doing vacant land, you're gonna have to get a higher. You're gonna have to understand. You're gonna have to sell for a higher return because vacant land doesn't sell as good as a ranch in Texas. It just doesn't. So it's interesting. I'll leave with this too. I have I'll send this link to. This is the actual website I'll be sending to you guys. I think you've told me before, Mark. Are you guys originators in any state? Technically, are you allowed to originate? I know we were supposed to cover in our call. How many states are you originating in? Not underwriting, but originating.
Arizona and California.
Okay, and that's a heartache, right? Trying to get more states. It's just
Yeah,
difficult.
it's just because of the mortgage loan originator licensing laws in each state will vary, and some states require brick and mortar. I mean, there's just a variety of different scenarios that will determine. The only reason that we are not in other states is because we don't have a demand to get licensed in those other states.
Gotcha.
So if there was a demand, then yes, we'd get licensed because I can get licensed, virtually anywhere. It's
Yeah.
just going through the process. So if there's no demand for it, then we're not going to do it. But
Yeah,
that's kind of what our thing is all about is
absolutely.
why
John,
should we go out and spend the money?
Yeah, so what we'll do is I'll send you an email with I'm presuming, Rob, you okay with me to send it to Mark? I don't know unless you want me to send an email to you as well with this upcoming webinar we're doing, just try to get them to understand. We want to buy more notes from seller finance because, to be honest with you, we can't buy from banks and hedge funds anymore. It just doesn't work because their notes are just too damn expensive. So we're trying to connect with people like you guys to do it, and we've learned a lot from Mark. Mark's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
So we're really
Yeah,
grateful for
sure.
him. So
Yeah, very good. Okay.
so let's disconnect from here. I'll follow up with a few emails. Mark, Jonathan, do you have any more questions at all?
No, it was a good meeting.
Good deal. And we'll let you
Yeah,
guys
very
know
good.
real
If I have
soon.
follow-ups, I'll email.
Thank
Cool
you.
deal. Thanks, Deb. Good meeting, everyone.
Nice
Nice meeting y'all.
meeting you.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right,
All right.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.